And the bottom line is that when Congresswoman Emerson came into office, there were about 5 million illegal immigrants, and now there's between 11 and 20 million. And you can't tell me that we can't secure the border. You can't do it. 50 years ago, we put a man on the moon, and I think we should be able to secure our border now. The problem is where are our resources for security? They're halfway around the world securing other borders. Our technology that I've seen with my own eyes that kept me secure in a safe house in the middle of an Iraqi city is dedicated halfway around the world. As long as these wars persist, we don't have an infinite amount of security resources. It's another reason why it's time to end these wars. But then the second thing is workplace enforcement with teeth. We have to have this. There's a fact out there that in the last 2 years, approximately 2 million illegal immigrants went home. They bought their own tickets, they drove themselves, not at U.S. taxpayer expense. Why? Because they couldn't find work. If we do workplace enforcement with teeth, we're going to be able to address this issue. Now, finally, I'd like to address this issue of immigration as a whole. Look, we are a nation of immigrants, but in conversations with a lot of folks that are hiring, they tell me that the system is unnecessarily burdensome and complex. And I'm not putting all the blame on the executive here, because the blame rests with Congress. It's the reason why that Constitution is so long when it talks about Article 1, is Congress is given the authority, it's given the power of the purse. And I will remember that authority to make sure that the executive is enforcing the laws that are on the books.
Thank you. That is the end of our questioning. Congresswoman Emerson, will you remain standing? Will the other candidates please be seated while we move to closing remarks? Congresswoman Emerson, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. Let me take a minute to thank Mineral Area College for hosting us. I want to also thank all the students and faculty for all the work that you did to make this such a good evening. And Christina, you did a great job on the intro. Thank you very much. You know, the work that Mineral Area College and other community colleges have done has been tremendous in job training and in really having the flexibility needed to try to address workforce issues. You all have a nursing program here that is next to none. The police academy and the fire academy and even the truck driving program, which I had a good visit with too, are so important and are making a huge difference in the community, and I want to congratulate you on that. You know, before I was ever elected to Congress, I had made a commitment to open an office here in St. Francis County to serve this county and our region, and no one had done it before, but we did. And I'm very, very proud of the work that Heather and Cassie have done in reaching out to all of our communities all around the area. And I'm also proud of the work that we have done together on upgrading Highway 67 here in the county and then 4-laning it all the way down to the Arkansas line. It's going to make a big difference for economic development purposes. We've worked together to secure law enforcement dollars to fight methamphetamine and to treat those who are affected by drug abuse here in the county. We've worked to bring better health care to our veterans, exchanging a bus for a freestanding health clinic. And the sheriff and I, as I mentioned earlier, working together to stop illegal immigrants from taking the jobs of our hard-working and talented construction workers here in the county. Right now, you all, the most important thing that this country needs is a check and balance on the Obama administration. Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid sure aren't going to provide that. None of my opponents can provide that either. What this country needs is a pro-growth agenda, an agenda that the East and West Coast liberals that are supporting Mr. Sowers just don't understand. We can't afford policies like cap and trade that burden our families and our employers with new, higher energy taxes. We can't afford environmental regulations that stop our Midwest economy right in its tracks. We can't afford a stimulus that creates jobs in China, but not in Park Hills or Bonne Terre, Farmington, Doe Run, any of our communities here. We can't afford a healthcare takeover that puts a bureaucrat between choice and care for each and every one of us. And we can't afford a federal government that grows a $1.3 trillion deficit without blinking an eye. My Democratic opponent and I have different leadership styles. You know, last winter he told an East Coast press person that in the Army he learned how to ram things down people's throats. First of all, I don't believe he learned that in the Army, and second of all, that's not leadership. It's bullying. And you've heard him tonight, he loves to attack. I guess we all do that to some extent because it's the crazy, silly season right now. But he hasn't told us once during the course of this campaign what he would do when faced with tough decisions. Decisions that are often unpleasant when you're a member of Congress, but decisions you have to make when the economy is tanking, when people's paychecks are at risk, when you can't use an ATM. Leadership has taken that tough vote when the stakes are high, even if it's not popular. Leadership is finding solutions to problems, building consensus like I have done for so many years in Congress across party lines. And leadership is not worrying about who gets the credit. We're all in it together. I am so proud of my home and my neighbors. I'm not perfect, and I don't have all the answers, but I work very hard to represent you. Together we've made the 8th District a good place, and together we can make it even better. I've been honored and humbled to serve you in Congress, and I'd be awfully proud to do so again. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Beal, 5 minutes for
Are we
closing
supposed to sit
remarks?
back down?
Yes, please.
Excuse me.
I'm Larry Bill, and I really appreciate this opportunity to come and actually talk, not necessarily to you, but with you. And I really appreciate that opportunity. I want to thank the Mineral Area College for sponsoring this for us. I'd also like to thank Melissa for reading my bio. I thought she did a great job. I think she's probably a great example of one of the students that comes through this college. Now, the thing is that whenever I ran or decided to run for Congress, I decided to run as an independent, is because of my big disappointment with both the Republican and the Democratic Party. And if I'm elected to Congress, my vote will still count, whether I belong to the Democrats or belong to the Republicans. As an independent, I can still cast a vote as a member of Congress. But anyway, whenever I decided to run for Congress, I looked at it and I said, you know, I'm disappointed with both parties, and let's just go ahead and do the independent drive. And that's actually the hardest way to get on the ballot. We had to get around 5,600 signatures of registered voters. We did it by going door to door. It took us a year, and we ended up getting 6,700 signatures to count. And that allowed us to get, like I said, to the final four where we're standing today. I'm hoping that represents to you how hard of a hardworking individual I am, and the ability to be organizing and creative, because we did this with no party structure and very little money. Now, when we talk about money, whose money is it that Congress is spending? It's your money. It's not Congress's money. And that, I think, by showing you that we could do things with a small amount of money is very good evidence. The other side of the coin is, how committed am I? what I've done is anytime you see a sign, a billboard, a newspaper ad, a sign on the car, a yard sign, remember, my wife and I paid for it. Now, I just reviewed the Federal Election Commission results for all the contributions. One major candidate contributed $10 to the campaign. The other contributed $0. And maybe they can explain to us why those numbers were that way, because actually they may have actually made a loan to the campaign or some other method. But it's in black and white at the Federal Election Commission website if you want to take a look at it. Now, the thing is like I said, I don't want to talk to you, I want to talk with you. You guys could have done 100 other things tonight, but you have an obvious interest in the future of our nation. And you've taken time out of your day. I know many of you have scheduled to look at other things. You've looked at our websites, you've looked at our opinions, and you're planning on making a very difficult but informed decision on November 2nd. Now, there's a different way of doing things. If you take a look at video rental, for example, we used to have video stores, and now we have Netflix. That's a change in paradigm. What I think I am proving with this campaign is we probably are going to get to the point that we don't need money to run for office. That in fact the electronic age will take it over, that people will be creative, and those kind of things, and that will actually probably dry up the lobbyist contributions we talked about. Now remember, when you get into the ballot box, you'll have 4 choices. And I think you have 4 excellent choices, to be honest with you, instead of the lesser of 2 evils. But Larry Bill will be a choice on the ballot as an independent, and I would appreciate your vote in November. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sowers?
Well, I would like to thank Mineral Area College and also my fellow panelists. 4 debates in 8 days. Thank you very much for keeping up the pace. And Congresswoman Emerson, thank you very much to agreeing to these. We would not have had these without you. Now, Congresswoman Emerson has just done something she's done before, which is confuse an idea of leadership. Now, I learned a lot of skills in the military. I learned how to dive out of planes. I learned how to do hand-to-hand combat. I learned how to shoot rifles. I learned how to do a lot of skills, but that's not leadership. And frankly, confusing a skill with leadership is an insult. It's an insult not just to me, but to all the veterans out here who know what leadership is. It's leading by example. It's having a vision. It's sticking to it. It's fighting through tough odds and making it happen. Leadership is not waiting for a crisis. Leadership is not blaming other people and parties. When I was in the military, I learned that I'm accountable for everything that I do and everything that I fail to do. And that same leadership standard I will hold to account. Congresswoman Emerson has voted for the bank bailout. She can't blame that on anyone. Our deficit has soared in the 14 years she's been there. She can't blame that on anyone. And leadership is accepting responsibility. And I think that's what we have an opportunity for tonight, is to have a leader and to elect a leader. Now, my journey began for this office when I left the military. And about 18 months ago, I was considering this run. And I knew the facts of what had happened during Congresswoman Emerson's time. I knew that we had lost factories, that our unemployment had almost doubled. But it wasn't until I was out on the road and I stood outside the factories, I worked jobs alongside factory workers, that I understood the challenge. And that's what informs me about trade. I knew that 1 out of 4 of our kids lives underneath the poverty line, and I found that unacceptable. But it wasn't until I saw the backpack program that exists in many of our schools that allows kids to have food placed in their backpack so that they can eat over the weekend. I found that unacceptable, and it's time to do something about it.